I love your tomatoes.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I guess we can talk about the food, right?
Yeah, I need a theme. Otherwise, I'm just kind of so aware of the fact I'm being filmed.
It's awkward.
That I can't. Okay, let's talk about 3 things. Marketing.
Yes.
What we're going to do about people who are never, ever going to want to touch dirt. And what's the third one?
Let's let the third one be miscellaneous and we'll get to it.
Okay, great.
So let's start with marketing.
Once we really started pursuing search engine optimization, we're reaching people who don't know plants. And which is good and also more challenging at the same time, because now we have to cater to people that are going to have
Trouble growing weird things.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's an important thing too to consider is like, what does the grower really take on as the customer service, and when does that end?
That's right. And there's going to be more time spent answering rudimentary questions, which is great. We love training people, but it's more time.
Yeah. Well, and do you have customers that are requiring a lot of hand holding?
Yes. Yes.
That's like almost an add-on service. Like
It is.
we really devalue the knowledge that we possess, and we've, for some reason, I think in this industry struggled for decades and decades about people expecting our expertise for nothing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like the grocery store situation. Like the guys in the middle are not going to make it, right? It's either no frills or 100% frills, right? There's no 50% frills anymore, which was fine. Remember how like it used to be like mid-range brands could thrive. Your JCPenney's, your, you know,
Sears.
your Sears. But
Yeah.
now it's either, right? It's either the cheapest of the cheap, minimalist, like super cheap, or super high end.
Yeah.
And maybe that's something, since the industry always seems 10 years behind, maybe we could just look at now and position ourselves to realize that pick frills or no frills, right? And
Yeah.
Well, I think something you talked about with this garden center you just went to see was that they were operating more like a supermarket as well. And I think that taking a key from supermarkets is like such a smart thing to do because it's a perishable product. Does someone take blueberries in 6 weeks after the fact and go, I want my money back? Like, but dead plants, like plant people take that responsibility for like, oh, you know.
I agree. I think the warranty is the worst thing that we ever created.
But
It made people devalue our product to the point where they have no responsibility for whether they're successful or not. You know, and that's not the way to make people value something they buy.
People would say, do you guarantee your plants? I would say, I can't guarantee that you'll take them out of the car.
A big box store has a very similar guarantee for nearly every single product that they sell.
It's all widgets.
Yes, exactly. When you're going to that place, your shopping behavior needs to match anywhere you are in the store. And so anything you buy on the chain link end of the store needs to match what you're going to get when you buy the washing machine that's just inside the sliding door on that same end of the store.
Well, I've never understood, you know, like if you go to a mall or a good department store, how they'll sell you a pair of shoes and a pair of pants. They'll show you everything. And I've never understood why if you go to a garden center that they're not selling those like pallets of soil with the whole thing, with the fertilizer.
like a mailbox kit or
Yeah, like putting the collections together like that because, you know, the design industry recognizes, oh, people don't know how to put these things together. Why aren't like, you know, maybe garden centers having like, you know, this fake things that Pottery Barn has in the back where you're like doing the design in the store?
Yeah.
In some of the gardening magazines, I see pictures where you've got really cool plants. It's a beautiful landscape design. And then in the bottom right-hand corner, you've got kind of that same picture, abstract drawn. Everything's shaded out except for one plant with a number by it and it says what it is. I could see garden centers doing the same thing. So they've got the pots of plants with a big old gaudy tag in it, but let that tag be the exact same picture of the same landscape all throughout the entire garden center. And then in the bottom right-hand corner is that whole kind of rendered picture shaded out except for the plant that stake is in, and then where it fits into this master design.
I love the idea of a branded design representing a horticultural source.
That's right.
I mean, ideally, a garden center. This would be a great program for a garden center.
So basically an IKEA.
I've never been to one.
Well, they have sets, like you have
Yeah,
a small
like 500
bedroom.
square feet.
You have a small bedroom. Okay, here's how you do it up, and then they put all their stuffs in it, right? And then you say, "Oh, I like that," and then you kind of make a note, and then you go downstairs and you pick it up and you go pay for it. Maybe you go through all these, because like if you don't see it in context, then like you're really asking someone to come up with like this, imagination, and like it's hard for people to imagine it from scratch. And
That's right.
That's a brilliant thing that
I think
Tony did too.
if you
is
see
having
it in
the
its
gardens.
context,
Yeah. A display
then
garden.
you're like, I want that exactly, and then you can identify it, right? And then you can go at the end and say, yeah, I want this, 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 and this. And I'm gonna put it together just like I saw it at the place, or add my own touch to it. But it would be good to have like showrooms, basically, right? I mean,
For us, that's called a garden.
That are kind of different sizes, though, with different types of
Right.
foundations.
Right.
Like low windows,
Right.
a higher window. That's going to change the palette of plants that you'd pull from.
or even like different soil types, or
Yeah.
you could have one that's like this one
But
is.
this exists with 3D design. There's computer
Yeah,
programs
I
that
know,
do
but
this.
it's still
People want it right.
immersive. We need
Yeah.
immersive.
Well,
we need the smells. We
So
need
you think
the.
it needs to be created rather than done virtually?
Yeah, it needs to be.
Yeah.
I need to go to a garden center and see it all in its context, and then I'll buy from that instead of walking in and seeing
Can it
racks
be
of
and?
pots.
Can it be both?
You know what I mean?
I think it could,
It would
maybe,
have
right?
to be both.
Yeah, because I don't know. I mean, I guess garden centers have
Depends on how you want to do it,
grounds
right? I mean,
maintenance.
again, it's like, do you want this as a garden center? Do you want to offer this as a garden center? Maybe you don't want to offer this because it's.
Maybe you can
Well,
afford
Leon-
it as a
Yeah,
startup.
maybe you can't.
But it would be a cool thing to have at least one in your community.
Right.
I hear a lot about how there's all these plants that should be in the wholesale loop and they're not. But it's one of those things, people aren't buying this plant, they're not asking for this plant, so the wholesalers aren't growing it. And it's this vicious cycle. But the same might be, you talked about, why isn't there a big marketing firm? There isn't that much money in horticulture. Okay, if there's a bunch of money in horticulture, there'd be a bunch of big marketers. Maybe if there were a bunch of big marketers, there'd be big horticulture.
It'd be
Right.
more like Holland.
It would be the same thing as our growing, and our culture would begin to change to
As a
where
result.
Well, I think,
There-
yeah.
yeah,
A lot of
everybody's competing.
snobbery there needs to come out of like horticulture itself and embracing other people, because I think when you get to these really niche groups of horticulture, they don't even want to invite other people to play
Yeah.
at all. They don't care if they see a person, and they're going to be snooty about all sorts of plants that a person who's just trying to come play, that's not what that is, Pop. I mean, there's this snootiness that does not ingratiate people.
Well,
If it's-
especially in the high-end horticulture.
But even think in high-end horticulture, how they even treat wholesalers.
oh,
Like, it
yeah,
just
it's
went
terrible.
I mean, it's a very, at least,
It's like John Cusack in High Fidelity.
I didn't see that.
He was kind of, remember that?
I think we have 4 separate sets of movies that we all watch here. And no
That we all dip.
I don't watch any movies, so
He was the guy.
attention
He's the
span
guy
isn't
that
that
owned.
long.
He owned the indie record store.
Okay.
And if you went in and
Oh.
maybe you asked about maybe kind of the wrong bands, you'd get berated. You know what I mean? That kind of.
The
Yeah.
B-sides guy.
Right now, I'm assuming that's how it kind of is. It's kind of this standoffish.
Like if I said
Click.
I want a weeping willow, you'd be laughed out of like certain circles. Like,
Right.
it's a weird elitism that I guess gathers when you get people that are very well versed in a
And
specific
passionate
realm.
about it, and
Yeah.
they want to show off how much they know.
they want
Yeah.
to guard it, and it's their own, and they put in work and love into it, and like they feel that, you know, some Yahoo off the street's going to be like, oh, I love plants. And they're like, well, you didn't pay any dues. And this, I think that's the attitude it's coming from, you know. But I guess that leads to point number 2 about you saying, like, what do you do about people who will never touch dirt?
You have them grow a tower garden.
Or you just don't.
They're awesome.
Or you don't.
Or you cut their heads off.
Or you just don't even
Worry about it?
Don't even worry about it.
Well, I think there is, though, something to be said about...
Do you want to convert more people, or do you want the people that are already in it to go up a level? I guess.
Both.
It'd be nice if it was both.
Well, I think just because the millennial population is so large that whether we have a successful marketing campaign to them or not, by sheer population percentage, horticulture will increase because there's just that many more people.
Right.
So it's kind of unrealistic to think that it's doomsday, but it's the role that we could play that could really like elevate horticulture to a much more important place in our society.
Yes.
If we're more perceptive to it and aware of it, we could, you know, get ahead of the curve, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Death is a big fear. And that's, I think, a big motivating factor for why people don't want living things. They'd rather throw flowers away than bring a plant into their home because they're afraid that they're going to kill it.
Well, and gosh, houseplants are probably the hardest anyway. Growing them outside is much easier. Mm-hmm. Frankly, growing them in water is easiest. Mm-hmm. I think that it's really intriguing that technology is taking growing plants to such a not earthy way, but very, very efficient. I'm so impressed with that tower garden.
It's really amazing.
We've been harvesting produce for weeks already.
Well, in the past, 6 weeks, I have heard of 5 different design firms that are launching outdoor lines, outdoor room lines.
Good.
And I think these tower gardens
could be danked up and made pretty.
Yes, bring some real designers in.
Yeah.
Make beautiful, beautiful.
They don't have to look like a laboratory.
Yeah. But what if there were room dividers that were designed and it was just, really beautiful room dividers? 'Cause I think there's going to be a really big opportunity to have plants in these outdoor rooms. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's the infrastructure that supports it. We can't think about it just being in the ground.
I agree. I think that some of these, I can say from experience now that these things with pumps, if we could get the pumps to be solar powered, then they would be more usable out and about in a garden setting.
But how cool is that? A room divider.
I love that idea.
Where it'd be you had a wall here, a wall here, a wall here, 4 pots on the side, and it's truly like a room. This is a concept that goes back to the French. And they would have the servants move, in the 1700s, and they would move the furniture from the inside of the home outside and create these garden rooms. And the French were obsessed with it. They were really obsessed with these garden rooms.
Oh, to be in France at that era and not have to deal with all the bad things about the 1700s.
When was the revolution in France?
I think this was before the revolution.
Okay.
They were carry the furniture out now.
Yeah.
Yeah, just make sure I'm not there when...
And can you dye the sheep? Please dye the sheep. Why? For fun and cake.
Wow.
But I do think that this is something interesting. The guy who is the interior designer for the White House has just launched an outdoor line.
Oh,
and
cool.
The Korean company has launched this, they're doing this outdoor furniture line. And every year in High Point, I see more and more of these companies. And there's 3 other companies, and they're doing furniture. So I think Hort needs to jump
Team up with that. Yeah, and supply the rest of the infrastructure.
We need to stop saying it's not popular or people don't like it, but we're seeing it popular everywhere.
Yeah.
But we're not a part of it. And that's the crazy thing, right?
Yeah.
And we feel like, well, hell, we're growing it. How come we're not part of this, right? How come Epcot gets to tout its garden and it's the main part of Epcot, right? And that seems popular to me, right? They could have picked anything else, right? But no, they're going to pick garden stuff.
Yeah, and
Does
actually
that not say enough?
Foodscaped last year, and it was hugely successful.
Does it not say enough? Can we stop saying now that like no one likes it? Now I think now we can say people like it.
People like it. We're just not quite.
Let's ride the wave and
Marketing
figure out how
it.
to get on
Yeah.
it.
Exactly.
We don't. I don't think. Like I just said, I don't think we have to harp on or getting people to like it anymore. I think
I don't
that's
either.
something we can abandon.
Because you know what plants
Yeah.
these people are going to use? They're going to use ivy. If we don't like,
Well, that's
like,
true.
They're just going to start using ivy
That's true.
and things because they're going to use the things that are available at wholesale flower markets because that's the only
what
crossover
they
they're
know.
having. Yes, but they get so excited if they just even see something that's the hint of different. Like, and it's really cute when designers show you their gardens or what they're doing because they're pathetic. Like, they're pathetic, and it's like, oh, these little nasturtiums, and you're just like, bless your heart. But that's all they know how to do. And if the two sides weren't just intimidated by one another, especially, you know, the people can be very intimidated by folks.
Well, I will say that I think the wholesale nurseries reflect an inventory that is maintainable for the standards that we currently have. So I think sometimes people are down on what plants are available, and it's not that the plants aren't good, it's that the way we use them isn't necessarily effective and creative. Like maybe we don't need holly hedges as the foundation. Maybe we need compact holly to be the thing that divides the houses. It's not so big. You can actually keep it watered and manage it. It's a backdrop. It gives you separation, but it's not an incredible amount of biomass. You know, it shifts the way we use the plants that are currently in production because there's a reason they've evolved to being grown in mass. Because they're easy to produce. You know, they're reliable in the landscape. You know, I hate to be the defender of Ilex crenata, but
Great plant.
I would rather see Ilex crenata than Buxus. I think it's more sustainable crop.
We use that. Buxus and ivy if we
Buxus and ivy. Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. I went to these green infrastructure sites in Lancaster last week at Millersville. And it's like it's such a great concept. And it just needs like another design layer added to it. I think what's missing is not woody ornamentals, just woody plants in general. Right now they're mostly herbaceous perennials, and then they dry out, you know, to extreme degree, and some of the ones I saw were really sad and wilty. It was hard to take a picture. I was like, you want these things to work. I want to see plants be the solution to gray water. But we haven't quite figured out the paradigm of making that aesthetic.
I just love I used to just go on and on about how I thought that kitchen gray water there should be a fertilizer compound that was washing the dishes because it's like got phosphorus and things like that. Same ingredients as fertilizer. You wash your dishes and then it irrigates your yard. And I don't think most people know that, you know, that
I would love if my kitchen sink was attached to my garden.
Also, what if they used like the same principles of fertility, like just change the phosphate so it's like low enough to not kill your plants, but high enough to kill the germs.
Wow, but you know, that kind of reminds me of that movie Idiocracy, where they've like messed with the water systems and they're irrigating with Gatorade. So they're like, but it's got electrolytes and all the soil is dead from salt.
Oh yeah.
It's got what plants crave.
It's got what plants crave. That's their answer. You should probably at least look up Idiocracy. It's not really worth watching.
Oh yes, it is. Welcome to Costco. I love you.
Oh, was that a line from the movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can only order food from vending
Carl's-
machines or
Carl's
from Carl's
Jr.,
Jr. Yeah. And they come, you know, in like those tubes like the bank.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's just
Your child has been placed in the custody of Carl's Jr.
Carl's Jr. kind of owns everything, right?
Yeah.
I hope that that's not what happens with McDonald's or something. I mean, I kind of feel hopeful that we're getting into a time where younger people are more conscientious, or at least a demographic of younger people are more conscientious of their consumption. I read an interesting and slightly disturbing statistic that by 2018, the millennials will have replaced the baby boomers as the #1 economic driver in the world.
Oh, yeah.
So it's coming. The revolution is coming.
But they
It's
may
like
have
about-
no
well, it's-
initiative.
They may have no initiative.
They may not have
They
any
may
money.
not. They may not really want to make a change.
I
They
mean,
maybe
you saw-
want to make everything permaculture.
You saw it 10 years ago when everything was teeny bopper, everything was Britney Spears, everything was marketed for that. It's because
That's
that
true.
market was the largest demographic in the nation. And
And it remains.
it remains like, yeah, they're not getting killed off at a rate where they're not growing. So,
Great statement.
but I'm just saying, I mean, so yeah,
Killed off today.
I don't know if I can segue into a Matthew McConaughey, millennials stay the same. I don't know. But anyway,
Nice. I got it. I got that one.
it's a stretch. But
I keep
no, but like I said, marketers have already jumped on that demographic, right? And then it's shifting as they get older. Now, they're
So
getting their
now
first
they're
jobs.
becoming our market, and are we
Yeah,
prepared?
it's slowly
You
they're
know.
coming to us. And what are we gonna do?
Yeah,
Are we
is
gonna-
the horticulture industry ready for a population boost and potential interest?
We don't have to worry about it until millennials begin to buy property.
True.
Yeah, they're not
But
there
I
yet.
think the
But we should worry about it
insinuation-
now before they do.
We need to
we can plan.
anticipate it.
Something I have noticed that's being marketed to them are air plants. And they're
And
eating them up.
succulents.
They're eating them up. It's like candy. And I think that's great. And
Yeah.
I like the way they're being marketed like little kids, the toys.
Right.
Like,
Kind of like collectibles.
yeah.
And they're
Or
mobile, right?
stackies.
You can take them
Okay.
with you.
Maybe.
That's a big
But
deal.
you're encouraged to
them.
get one of them. Like, I want one of all. Like
Yeah.
Munchie cheese or what were some other things?
What were those
Like,
things that people would collect?
Pogs, Pokemon.
Those things with beans
We don't
on
need to
them.
go back
Beanie
there.
babies.
Beanie Babies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so that's handy for little tiny, low maintenance organisms, but
Just like
Right.
a little stuffed animal filled with beans, and so when gardening season comes, you split,
break it open.
break it open.
It's the industry's sea monkeys.
Golly, you could do that with like larkspur.
Is that what it is?
and poppies.
Yeah. Do you remember the pictures of the sea monkeys?
And they could be
in the
different
back?
figurines with
Oh
different
my
seed
god.
mixes.
They had
It could be a
faces.
fairy
raise-
line.
That
Very
whole
long.
It's
village
like sprinkling
of-
pixie
yeah.
dust when you put
Nah.
those seeds out.
wasn't the
It
case.
used to be exciting the way it's done, like a straw and you blow
I
it.
was like, these suck.
Yeah.
That was, I think, though, when they
That
were
could be built
really
into
like
it.
that was
It could be
illegal.
like
The way they marketed those to
lawns
kids,
being
like they had
blown through.
faces, noses, ears.
We were the
I like
guinea
it.
pigs
There.
for that.
All right, we need to patent this. We have just brainstormed an absolutely brilliant idea.
We were talking about sea monkeys.
We were talking about seed fairies.
Seed fairies, yes.
Sea monkeys.
I think there's a parallel.
There is.
Yeah.
We're still on the same
Go.
page somehow.
We really aren't that far off.
Yes.
Sea monkeys and
Seed
fairies.
monkeys and poppy primates. And
Yeah, like I was gonna say 20 minutes ago, the industry needs a mascot, right? They
Yeah.
need Poochie, the plant lover or whatever, and then that'll save us all, right?